Hello, welcome into days we've had. Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast, presented to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcast. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brock, back from his 1999 AOL startup dial-up internet yesterday. Today, I unplugged my computer right before the show went live. Good stuff. They can't stop us, Bo. We're here now, and we will talk about Sean Payton, whether they like it or not.
Can't stop, won't stop. Sean Payton gate continues. It will be off the rails until he makes a decision. We're already seeing it's the worst kept secret that Sean Payton's going somewhere, and we'll get into that conversation. We even have Rap Sheets tweet. We'll get to it later in the show. But as he said, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about J.J. Watt speaking on his announcement to retire. Did Kliff know? Does it matter? Colt McCoy claims he found out during breakfast today. J.J. Watt says he's full of shit. It's a great, fun little tangle web they weave, but it's all going to be coming up today on PHNX Cardinals.
It's fun because I don't believe anything anybody says with the Arizona Cardinals. I love the Cardinals, but you can't believe them. We're not going to start with Watt. I want to get Bo's opinion on Watt because Bo was robbed of that opportunity yesterday. We're going to get to JJ, but I want to start with a report, Bo, that was sent to you yesterday. The Vegas odd makers, listen, we all have, we've been scarred a little bit with the Kevin Durant saga to the Phoenix Suns, but there's a difference with that, ladies and gentlemen. The Brooklyn Nets did not want to trade Kevin Durant. They controlled that. The New Orleans Saints, by a report now, it sounds like they're going to keep Dennis Allen, which means why wouldn't you trade Sean Payton, who, by the way, is prepping a coaching staff to come back and coach in the NFL next year. The Brooklyn Nets wanted Kevin Durant. They dug their heels in, and they said, nobody's getting him. If we can't have him, nobody's getting him. Sean Payton's not being kept hostage here, and I think that is why, Bo, you have to take these odds at a different perspective than what we were all dealt with Durant and the Suns in the offseason.
Right. And as far as, the Saints, they are probably further away. Not a lot. I mean, obviously the fan base wants change already after just one season of Dennis Allen. But according to Nick Underhill, and we have the tweet that was quote tweeted by the great Ian Rappaport, as far as Nick Underhill saying that it would be a surprise if Dennis Allen is not Saints coach next year in New Orleans. And Rap Sheet says basically this is pretty strong and interesting and casts serious doubt on Sean Payton returning to New Orleans. This is on the heels of Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk saying that it's the worst kept secret in the NFL that Sean Payton's going to return as head coach of the Saints. And it's like, okay, now we're starting to connect the previous dots, the reports and what Miami got banged for this conspiracy that they wanted Payton and Brady as a package deal with, ownership of the team. And now here we are. They're saying, hey, this is going to happen in the Big Easy. And it's just like the chances of that happening, it just seems more far-fetched than the soon-to-be vacancy, hopefully, for the Arizona Cardinals that Sean Payton could just fill. It seems like does Sean Payton really want to go to New Orleans after saying all his goodbyes, having the press conference, thanking everybody, hugging the owner, saying goodbye to the media and the fans and the players, and then come right back and say, okay, 47-year-old Tom Brady, let's do this thing. I mean, it doesn't seem likely to me. It's not the worst kept secret in the NFL because it's really not something that's likely to happen.
And I would argue, people who are saying, well, it's just like when Sean Payton left for a year and came back. He was suspended for Bounty Gate. I almost said Deflate Gate. He was suspended for a year. They had all intents and purposes of returning. He left the Saints organization knowing, and they knew too, that he would get back into coaching. I don't think anybody thought when Sean Payton retired or stepped away that he wasn't going to come back at some point. So they've had this contingency plan all along. We're going to roll with Dennis Allen. They interviewed other people for that opening, and they said, Dennis Allen's our guy. We like what he's done there. He has a great rapport with Mickey Loomis, by the way. They're lockstep. And they started Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton this year. Anybody thought that they were going to be contenders in a division with Tampa Bay? I'm sorry. And I would argue they have made the most of what has been a difficult situation, and you're there. As a lot of people are pointing out, they're trying to get under from salary cap hell. They've got a lot of players like the Cardinals that are probably reaching their end of their tenure with the franchise. Michael Thomas. Kamara had a domestic situation that was going on, or some kind of situation off
assault
charge.
Not just an assault, but yeah.
That's been lingering over their head. Everything that I've heard about Dennis Allen is they're applauding the way he's handled it this year. So I think it's disrespectful, and I'm not just saying this because I want Sean Payton desperately here in Arizona.
Well, you do.
I do, absolutely. We've got something. Look what Jeremy Fowler tweeted. Apparently, the Cardinals and Sean Payton have mutual interest. Do we need to look that up, Bo Brock?
Yeah, we can look into it, absolutely. But to further your point, I mean, not to say Sean Payton, like, it wasn't the James Betcher was Bruce Arians' guy situation with Dennis Allen. He was on Payton's staff. He was his last defensive coordinator. Like, I think that Sean Payton, as much as he wants to win, and if he's going to try to figure out what the best situation for him is, I don't think he's going to do it at the expense of poor Dennis Allen being one and done. Yeah. I just don't. He doesn't strike me as somebody that would want to do that to one of his former coaches. So I'm just not buying that either.
Looks like that report was from earlier in the month. And again, we'll keep it lockstep. Don't worry about it, Ozzy. Because here's what we do have. We have the odds for where Sean Payton is going to go potentially via Las Vegas. This is from bookies.com. And this was sent to Bo yesterday, Bo. And listen, I don't think anybody here is sitting more pretty than the Arizona Cardinals as it relates to Sean Payton, even though Kliff Kingsbury is still the head coach of this team. And you look at the teams that are projected for our audio listeners only, Arizona plus 250, meaning that you'd have to, if you put down 100 and Sean Payton was the head coach, your payout's 250. Denver Broncos, by all accounts and purposes, are not going to be on Sean Payton. The LA Chargers are going to the playoffs, and there is significant doubt.
Now, hold on. Get back to that Denver. Why do you believe that? Because of the reports that he would bring on Vic Fangio as his DC, and there's no way that Fangio is going to be like, oh, okay, hey, I'm back, guys. Right? Is that where your thought is on that?
Benjamin Albright, who's connected to the team, covers the Denver Broncos. He's an NFL insider, but he's very tapped in with the Denver Broncos. Mm-hmm. That's his franchise. Says there's no way Sean Payton goes there. Yeah. And there are other people that have tried to connect the dots that it's basically been debunked. That I think the Denver Broncos are much more likely to go after Jim Harbaugh. Plus, they got snubbed by Dan Quinn last offseason. They're going to go try to get Dan Quinn again and pair him. They want somebody with a familiarity offensively with Russell Wilson, which they could bring in, of course, his guy back from Seattle once upon a time. Who's the offensive coordinator, Bo? Not Schottenheimer, but can't remember. His OC in Seattle. They're rumored that he's going to reunite with Dan Quinn, who, of course, Dan Quinn was his defensive coordinator when he was in Seattle. Sean Payton has no ties to Russell Wilson. They can't cut Russell Wilson. So they're going to try to salvage that relationship. Here's what I will say. The Denver Broncos, I don't believe everything we've heard are an option for Sean Payton. Then you go down that list, producer Jacob, can we see that one more time? The fantastic graphic producer Jacob put together. LA Chargers plus 500. The Spanoses are about as cheap as they come. They've leased out that stadium with Stan Kroenke. No fucking way do they hire Brandon Staley, who is going to the playoffs, who is ascending, to overpay for Sean Payton. Playoffs? Yeah. Dallas. They've won back-to-back double-digit games. Are they going to get Sean Payton? And then you can just drop it off the field, Carolina, Tampa, not happening. The Cardinals are the best spot, the only spot right now. If Michael Bidwell doesn't screw this up, here it is. It's on a silver platter. You get a top 5 pick. You get some salary cap relief now. The Cardinals are going to move off some aging veterans. You get Kyler Murray at some point next year. But, I mean, I've heard clips of Sean Payton basically say, like, he just wants a good relationship with his owner. Yeah. And if the franchise quarterback's not there, that's okay, because those jobs don't open up. We're set up for either the biggest acquisition in team history from a coaching standpoint, or just a complete gut punch from ownership, because it may have seemed like a pipe dream 2 months ago to a lot of people. The Cardinals are the favorite right now. I don't know how you could argue they're not the favorite.
Right. I saw another betting site say Denver, and it doesn't seem like that's somewhere he wants to go. You're Charlie Kelly from It's Always Sunny. You've got a cigarette that's probably 3/4 ash. You've got the strings set up all around the case you're making about where the next landing spot for Sean Payton is, and very low on the suspect list are the Denver Broncos. It just is. That's just facts. He doesn't want to go and to coach Russell Wilson. As far as trying to coach up a guy in his mid-30s that has some bad habits, worse habits than Kyler Murray. And sure, he watches film. He triples down on the film he watches, and he's a guy that's going to be in there. And he's going to be leading the charge and trying to get people up. And it's worn thin as far as his relationships already, just in less than the season's worth of time in Denver. He doesn't want to go to that. It's too much of a rocky situation. I mean, just look at the stats. Kyler Murray played in 11 games, and Russell Wilson's played in 13 games. Russell Wilson is at just over 60% completion percentage, just over 3,000 yards passing, just went over double-digit touchdown passes like a couple weeks ago. At one point, very deep into the season, he had less touchdown passes than Carson Wentz, who's just getting back to starting this upcoming week. He had more bathrooms in his mansion than he had touchdown passes. He has 9 interceptions. He's just a guy that has it's. I don't think Sean Payton looks at it as, hey, I want to go lead Russell Wilson back on this comeback tour. I want to create the resurgence in his career, because I don't think anybody views that situation as something that's easily fixed.
Can I also add this? You're playing in a division with Patrick Mahomes, and you have a liability at quarterback that's old and depreciating. You're in a division with Justin Herbert, which, say what you want about Brandon Staley, like, they're a playoff team. And then, you look at the Raiders, they're a gut job too, and that situation's not ideal. But you're arguably the worst team in that division. Yeah. And unlike the Cardinals, who a lot of us feel like have the talent to win, but have not had the coaching. I mean, we don't know how good Nathaniel Hackett is, because he was sabotaged by Russell Wilson. He was terrible this year. Yeah. He's going to be making $50+ million a year for the next 5 years. I think the AFC is completely off limits, unless you're Houston. That's the only other place where I love this quarterback. I can pick him first overall. He's ascending, blah, blah, blah. It's murderer's row in the AFC with Allen and Mahomes and Burrow and Trevor Lawrence and, of course, Justin Herbert. Look at the NFC. Number one, you dominated it for 10+ years. The conference is in disarray. We've got Kirk Cousins and Brock Purdy, who could meet in the NFC title game. All due respect to Jalen Hurts, we're going to see what happens there. Carson Wentz could make the playoffs. It's right there for you to say, okay, even if you don't love Kyler Murray, you can give him an opportunity, try to make it work for 18 to 24 months. But then you'd have some flexibility if you tried and it didn't work. I feel like Sean Payton, even with a compromised Kyler Murray, or a Kyler Murray not to his full liking, could make the playoffs with his eyes closed in the NFC, and then go have a contingency plan if that's what you want to do. It is so perfectly lined up. West Coast, an offense personnel that fits what you want to do, a GM opening that's potentially right here too. Denver's keeping George Payton, yet the new head coach is going to report directly to the owner. That's obscene. You'd have to inherit George Payton. Garbage. The guy who made that Russell Wilson trade. No thanks. No thanks.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: Do you feel it like you need to throw any kind of caution to the wind before you get this fan base, before you get our viewers, our loyal podcast listeners, to a point to where if Sean Payton goes elsewhere, that you just opened up their chest cavity and ripped their hearts out of their chest?
It's because everybody, 128 people, number one, like this video, make it as strong as possible, like this stream. We have to hold this organization accountable. We love this organization. We desperately want its first Super Bowl championship. But if Michael Bidwill is allowed to sit back and do this in January, like they've done so many times before, when they've had administrative changes at head coach and GM, and they end up with Joe Schmo, head coach, offensive. I love Ben Johnson. He's doing great things in Detroit. If they end up with a Ben Johnson type instead of going after a Sean Payton or a Jim Harbaugh, unacceptable. Unacceptable, because you're in a division with 3 head coaches, 2 of which have won Super Bowls. The other one could be going back to his second in Kyle Shanahan. You got to put on your big boy pants. You're getting exposed. You've won 1 home game in 14 months. You can't sit back and hire. If Sean Payton has interest, you write the check, no matter the size. You invest in your team. Because here's the thing, Bo. They want to talk about private jets, right? And everything that they do off the field, and that's great. We take you seriously if you win football games, and you just don't win enough. So figure that out. Figure the on-the-field product out.
Yeah. As far as where the Cardinals are, and believe me, even from an outsider's perspective, they are a dysfunctional mess. No doubt about it. But they are a leader, the caliber of Sean Payton, away and giving him the keys to the franchise away from writing this ship. And you're right. He told Ryan Russillo a couple weeks ago saying, like, I don't want to go to a place where there's been 45 years of dysfunction, and you can look at the quarterback position, but I can tell you the last couple of years, it hasn't been a quarterback issue. It's been an upstairs issue. It's been a front office. It's been an owner issue. And you can look at that and you can say, hey, is he talking directly about the Arizona Cardinals, where I don't feel like he is. I think he's talking more about like the Dallas types. I think he's talking about Houston. When you talk about Houston being the lone team in the AFC that he might consider, I mean, Houston's ownership has been more in the headlines for missteps, way more than the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have just been most recent, and Sean Payton's been around this game a long time. And there is a relationship between him and the Bidwills and the Cardinals organization. And it might be, I've joked about it, how he was a ball boy at camp, and, just thinking about nostalgia, sitting back on the grass and looking up the stars and remembering his time as a Cardinals ball boy. And that's only going to go so far. But when you just look at the opportunity where Kyler Murray could be back by October, miss 2 to 3 weeks of the season, and then he's a guy who comes in he'll be 26 by then. When he got his hands on Drew Brees at 27, very similar as far as the ages go, there's your opportunity. He believed in Kyler Murray. I'm sure he still believes in him, just with the right tutelage or right coaching to take his game to the next level, to get it back to where it once was, because the Arizona Cardinals offense and Kyler Murray under Kliff Kingsbury this season fell off a cliff. I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, from what they were able to do, and I know that was not a pun intended, but it worked out well, right? I mean, they were 13th, 10th, and then they went down to 30th overall as far as offensive DVOA. I mean, it's not, they are so bad offensively compared to the other years under Kliff, and it's gonna take a guy like Sean Payton getting it back on track.
I feel like this is a turning point, one way or the other, for Michael Bidwill this offseason, because I think a lot of people like myself, Bo, people, Saul Bookman, people who we converse with regularly, Cardinal fans in general, like Michael Bidwill and think he's made a lot of really good improvements to this franchise, to this organization. I don't want to speak ill will of Bill Bidwill, but he was not a great owner. Rest in peace, Bill Bidwill, good man by all accounts, but not a good pro football owner. This offseason is going to predicate if people are going to associate Michael in the same realm as his late father. Mm-hmm. He can be different than his late father. You go out, you get a Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh, you're big time now. You're saying, I want better for the Valley. I want better for my franchise. I want to be taken seriously in a division right now that has 3 elite head coaches. Say what you want about Pete Carroll. He's won a Super Bowl, and he's won games this year with Geno Smith and beat you twice. Or you can say to yourself, I'm going to do status quo. I'm going to promote from within. I might keep Kliff Kingsbury because I don't want to write a check, whatever. And then people are going to have open season on Michael Bidwill. I don't want that for Michael Bidwill, because I think he's better than that. I think he's smarter than that. And he knows that right now this is a fan base. This is an organization, desperate need of a shot in the arm, on and off the field, rebrand, whatever you need to do to get this fan base fired up again, because you could make this move for Sean Payton and it wouldn't equal one personnel move, I would argue, for the next year plus that would equal the excitement you get. You would get the benefit of the doubt, no matter the free agent, the draft pick, whatever. Everybody would be on board because they know that a football savant is in the house running shit. And Michael, you should feel comfortable about that. One of the biggest things, Bo, you and I have talked about is his weariness of letting Steve Keim go, because there's the uncertainty of, I don't have my buddy Steve, what am I doing? Yeah. But you get Sean Payton, that fixes all those problems.
Yeah, just let him start having conversations with people outside of his inner circle, his inner circle that's been, there for 2 decades plus, for the most part, with Keim and company. But I think Bidwill probably doesn't know. He's kind of disconnected himself from the rest of the league for the most part, and is only kind of aware of what's going on within the walls of the organization and some new ideas, I think he'll respond to those. You bring him in, and Sean Payton certainly has them, as he's been active throughout the season that he's been in the Fox broadcast booth, or we're kind of wearing the analyst hat. He's looking at offenses around the league, and he's still staying ahead of the curve as far as what's going on schematically with NFL offenses and stuff like that. So I think that Michael Bidwell, just by having conversations with Sean, would notice that, and that would be great for this organization, because I think he would probably have more of an open mind. This isn't like a Joe Exotic thing. This isn't a Tiger King thing where if he fires Kliff Kingsbury on January 9th, Black Monday, that he's not going to recover financially. He's an NFL owner, for God's sake. He might have to maybe slow down on taking a private jet flight a couple more times next year, and he'll be fine. He'll recover financially from this.
Can you imagine the cost of the Cardinals franchise, what it's estimated to be worth today, and then in 3 years from now, what it would be worth with Sean Payton? Franchise changers like that at quarterback and head coach greatly increase the value of your franchise. If you're not smart enough fiscally to understand that this is an investment that I'm going to have to pay for up front, but it's going to pay tenfold over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, having this guy in the building, I can't help you. And Michael Bidwell is a smart businessman. Look what he got the stadium built. It's an A-plus stadium that hosts championships. It hosts Super Bowls. They're not playing in them, but it's hosting them, right? It's got the private jet. It's got first-class practice facility, right? Everything off the field would tell you this is an owner that's going to go out and spend big money on a head coach, a proven head coach, a plug-and-play head coach. And again, this could all be moot if Sean Payton says, Cardinals, I'm not interested. And that's going to be really unfortunate, Bo. Yeah. And we have to somewhat prepare for that, because we don't know what Sean Payton thinks at the end of the day. But if there's even an inclination that Sean would be interested in having a conversation with Michael Bidwell, it has to be the selling pitch of your life, both personally and financially, to get him to run your franchise. Turn it over. Say, pick your GM. We're going to bring you in-house and do what you need to do, because we're in a place right now where we can't continue to spiral into this embarrassing cycle that we've been in.
I don't want to get people too giddy, but if you got a coach the caliber of Sean Payton, if you got Sean Payton and he becomes your next head coach, and then he handpicks the GM, and then what becomes relevant again is the NFL offseason for Cardinals fans, is what they're going to do roster-wise, what they're going to do draft-wise. You have to love what the Saints were able to do in the draft, especially early rounds. There was a couple of years where they struggled, where they were 7-9, and then they had some big drafts where they were bringing guys like Kamara's and Davenport's and Lattimore's and guys on the offensive line. And I mean, that would just breathe life back into this fan base. And then, like I said, let's not get too giddy, but then you throw in something like Kyler Murray timeline that's favorable for him to come back October. Yeah. And then you throw in an unveiling of a new uniform. I mean, you're selling jerseys, brand new swag.
2022 would be forgotten so fast.
You'd be Scrooge McDucking yourself into all the money you're going to make. You'd be swimming in it.
Somebody in the chat says Harbaugh is in the stadium as we speak. I think Sean Payton will also be there this weekend, because doesn't he have a son or a family member that plays for TCU? So don't be surprised if he gets a first-class tour of State Farm Stadium. Don't let him leave. Hey, Jim Harbaugh has a chance to equal the amount of wins at State Farm Stadium that Kliff Kingsbury has in the last 14 months with one if he beats TCU this weekend. Underdog Fantasy, by the way, I don't know if you guys have heard of this or not. So if you want to gamble on all things football, specifically pro football, NBA, check out Underdog Fantasy. It does fantasy different. It's better than the year-long fantasy drudge if you're cooped up with the same sorry-ass year-long fantasy team like myself, Bo Brock. Underdog Fantasy gives you a clean slate every single day. Draft your team against 5 of your friends, and the highest-scoring squad for the night wins that cold, hard cash. Draft NBA players, no positional limits, and that's it. Here's what you got to do. It's easy. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com, download the app, sign up with promo code, you guessed it, PHNX. Underdog is going to match your first deposit up to $100. Again, put in a hundy, get out a hundy. And there's been no better time to get on Underdog Fantasy if you look ahead. NFL playoffs, right? Your fantasy football playoffs may be over. Boom, tap into Underdog Fantasy. Keep that good time going. NBA regular season. We love our friends at Underdog Fantasy. We love making coin on Underdog Fantasy, Bo.
We also love hitting the long ball on the links, getting out there and just swinging a little bit. Also, we love some Suns basketball. Why not merge the both of them together into one event? And that's what we're doing here. Thanks to our friends over at Four Peaks. It's the inaugural PHNX Tea Party going down at Dobson Ranch Golf Course January 13th at 5:30 p.m., but it's going to extend throughout the night because you're going to want to get some great food, great drink, great merchandise going on from us at PHNX and some of our great vendors and partners, contests, prizes. It's $45 per person. You can save some money by becoming a diehard. Kids 10 and under play for free. You got the free youth clinic as well. It's a great place for the family, but also a great place for Suns fans out there. Join the PHNX Suns podcast. It's a watch party. You got the pre and you got the post-game show, plus the watch party in between. You don't want to miss it. Check the link in the description to reserve your spot right now. And for you diehards, you'll get your link in our Discord. Yeah, our member Discord for your special link. You'll save 20% off on this awesome event. Do we have some sort of like breaking news?
It's not breaking news. It's Twitter streets garbage, but it's worth talking about because this team is a little bit of a hot mess right now. This is a tweet from NFL Rumors, at NFL Rums. Don't so much read into who it's from, but look who liked it. With not many wide receivers on the market in the offseason, a name to watch is Arizona Cardinals DeAndre Hopkins, as the team reportedly could unload some contracts this offseason. That's speculation. And so it's a garbage tweet. We've talked about it on this show. Look who liked it. DeAndre Hopkins liked the tweet, Bo Brock.
Is him liking it? Does that mean he's gone? Should I say my final farewell in the next 2 weeks in the locker room? Say, hey, nice to know you.
I think he likes being paid. So he's like, Cardinals, pay me $30 million. Bears, pay me $30 million, right? It's a moot point. We'll find out more in February, March. I would imagine Sean Payton would want DeAndre Hopkins to be part of his team next year, maybe, but who knows? I mean, it's just the Cardinals had this window with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins that were put together, and it feels like that window's closed, at least for a lot of these players that are making a bunch of money. And we'll talk about the fact that, J.J. Watt, had he not retired, Bo Brock, like he would have been an in-demand player, and it probably wouldn't have made sense for the Cardinals to bring him back. Change is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be tough when you lose star players that are over 30 years old.
I think D-Hop, it becomes a little tougher. His cap hit is 30, but then you look at the dead money, and he's got a ton of dead money, obviously, this season. The next year, it doesn't get any easier. This upcoming offseason, they'd have to restructure in some way, save the team some cash, because $22.6 million in dead cap, and the Arizona Cardinals, I would assume, would have to absorb a lot of that if they sent him in any kind of trade. So I think it's more likely that they would have to you'd have to restructure and then figure out where to go from there. He's got to be frustrated. He played in a game where he saw 10 targets and maybe 2 of them were catchable. The team has lost as many games as it has. He had the suspension. So, he might like it. He might be just liking that his name is a part of some, popular tweet, or who knows? He's probably just as frustrated as anybody, but it can be remedied by maybe some change within the organization.
You got to make it make sense. Like if somebody really wants DeAndre Hopkins and DeAndre Hopkins is okay going to that team and getting paid, then what's the compensation? Are you getting a top 50 draft pick, right? Are you getting a younger player in return, or some kind of package including both? I don't know. You have to assess everything. If Kyler Murray's on track to play next year, sooner rather than later, and it's Sean Payton, and they're like, we can win the NFC West, you're probably not going to trade away DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe that's a problem for future Arizona Cardinal executives to worry about in 2024 and beyond. And the Cardinals also put themselves in a tough spot, Bo, because like so many times, they have not developed an heir apparent to Larry Fitzgerald, to D-Hop now, uncertainty with, of course, Rondale Moore, Hollywood Brown. Does he come back at what cost after his 5th-year option next year? One player who will not be back, Bo Brock, by all accounts, is J.J. Watt. We lost Bo yesterday because of internet concerns. He's back today. Bo, you had a chance to talk to J.J. Watt. Before we get to what J.J. said, we didn't get your take on this whole thing. Why do you believe it's the right time for J.J. Watt now? And do you think the Cardinals would have had interest in bringing him back should he have opted not to retire?
They absolutely should have had, wanted to bring him back because 9.5 sacks. He's a guy that continues to be a nuisance out there for opposing offenses and has been the Cardinals arguably their best player all season long. And what he does is he transcends even the playing field. What he does as far as leading the guys in the locker room, keeping guys focused despite, what's going on off the field or what they're not hearing or need to hear from their coaching staff. J.J. Watt provides that to them, and he's going to be sorely missed. And, if a guy like Hopkins exits and Watt exits, I mean, it's a bigger rebuild than even anticipated before with Kyler's injury and looking at the coaching staff. So, J.J. Watt, some people called it a money grab when he left Houston and he signed the big deal to be an Arizona Cardinal. And he saw a team that was talented at 8-8 the previous season that collapsed. Tell me if you've heard that one before, at the end of the year to not make the playoffs, but liked what he saw from Kyler Murray. He knew DeAndre Hopkins. He knew Vance Joseph from his early years in Houston. He was on that coaching staff, I believe, his rookie year. And he wanted to come here to the desert and be part of an up-and-coming team. And it was good for one season. He lasted, 5 games in a playoff game for the Cardinals. And then this season, he's been such a pleasant surprise just with his play. It's been a pleasure to be able to watch J.J. Watt go to work and how he prepares. And that was part of it, what went into it. It's like all the energy he puts towards football, he realized he didn't want to do that any longer. He had different priorities. He'd been married recently. They had their first kid this fall, early winter, and he had his son Koa. And it's just like, okay, he's had a million injuries. He had the heart scare, and he's had 12 pretty incredible NFL seasons. And we heard from J.J. Watt, and he kind of broke down why he was so grateful and why he's kind of at peace with retiring.
I've been extremely fortunate. I've been playing this game since I was 10 years old, and it's been an unbelievable ride. And if you told me back then when I started that I'd be able to play 12 years in the National Football League and meet the people I've met and accomplish some of the things I've accomplished and live the life that I live, I'd have been extremely thankful and probably would have told you you're a crazy motherfucker. But here I am now, and I'm extremely thankful. And like I said in my post, my heart is so full, and I have so much gratitude for the people that have helped me get here, for the people that have made it special, for the teammates, for the coaches, for the fans, for all the workers and the staff members, and the people day in and day out who make my life easy. I mean, I get to play a game for a living. It's truly the best job in the world. I chase around a little ball. I get to tackle people, and I mean, it's been incredible.
Love that clip for many different reasons, especially because we welcome profanity on this show, so you will not hear that bleeped out on the PHNX Cardinals podcast. Great stuff from JJ, but Bo, the tweet on PHNX Cardinals that everybody up in arms that I thought was very interesting. 30 plus, retweets, quote tweets right now. Check it out, PHNX_Cardinals. Not from JJ, but from Kliff Kingsbury, suggesting that he did not know that JJ Watt was going to retire. This is on the heels of the announcement that Kliff really didn't know when Kyler Murray was going to have surgery. Do you read into any of that?
Yeah, I'm not going to add that to the Kliff Kingsbury. I'm not going to pile on for that.
Why? Let's do it. Come on, let's get on the pile. I want to get on the pile.
Is that, because it was interesting. It makes you perk your ears up a little bit. You're like, really? But I think Kliff Kingsbury was kind of playing. The way he phrased it was like he didn't expect the announcement to come yesterday. But J.J. Watt revealed to everybody during his press availability today was that there were people in that building that knew it was his final year. And he was appreciative that they didn't tell anybody. Like, he was able to keep this kind of under wraps for the most part until early Tuesday morning when he posted it on his social media like he always does, so it doesn't get lost in translation or he doesn't get scooped on his own story that he was retiring from the NFL. So I think Kliff was kind of in one way giving way to his player, letting him make his announcement and not saying, well, yeah, I knew the whole time, like not making the story about himself. And people will crush Kliff, and he's an easy guy right now because his team sucks. They're 4-11. His offense has just been putrid. He's an easy guy to poke at, but I think this was just him being that player's coach, letting JJ have this moment And he was pretty much like, I didn't know the announcement was coming yesterday that he was going to post on social media, something that we've probably all known.
I think most of us just want to assume that there are private meetings that are now being held without Kliff, and he went to go open like the door to one of the suites and it was locked. And he said, no, Kliff, this is pertaining to only, serious members of the franchise right now. I say that tongue in cheek, but I feel like that's kind of the word on the Twitter streets is just Kliff. He's kind of left out of the loop because he's not involved in future plans, which he's trying to steer this ship toward the end of the season. I mean, with all due respect, like it's a decision that I think affects the Cardinals beyond this year. And there are not many people, and you can get odds right now on Kliff Kingsbury being part of this franchise after Black Monday, minus 700 to get fired, which means you have to put down 700 to gain 100. For those of you not up on your draft lingo, I mean, two people probably that aren't going to be part of the Cardinals franchise moving forward.
I mean, that's like Alabama taking on Sanford State. I mean, that's the kind of odds you get. I mean, minus 700 is absurd. What he probably should have done and why he was kind of playing it so close to the chest and why he said what he did, probably knowing that people were going to crush him for it, is just give JJ a massive hug, Kliff Kingsbury to JJ Watt, because the next 2 weeks, we ease off a little bit. It becomes JJ Watt's final 2 games instead of Kliff Kingsbury's final 2 games, or is it going to be his final 2 games? Even though that still needs to be part of the conversation by the decision makers, but as far as the fans, they get to watch Justin James Watt put the finishing touches on a rubber stamp Hall of Fame career.
I've joked many times. I joked on yesterday's show, and I said it on bets today with Shane. Like if JJ Watt's not in some jumbo packages on the goal line, and I know Kliff talked about it today. Then that will be a failure upon all failure. Kliff Kingsbury, give us one parting gift. Give us a Watt touchdown, offensive snaps in these next 2 games. We're going to talk about the Atlanta game here in a minute and who might be starting ahead at quarterback. But right now, if you're in the area in Atlanta, check out the Game Time app. You can get tickets up to 60% off when you buy them last minute. Right now, Suns, Coyotes, I'm going to tell you, how about Natty Championship Final Four for college football? You can get tickets. You want to go see maybe future head coach of the Cardinals, Jim Harbaugh, in the house at State Farm Stadium this Saturday. Check out Game Time, because here's the deal. You can save up to 60% on tickets when you buy them last minute on Game Time. And unlike all of these other third-party vendors that are charging an arm and a leg with all these hidden fees and garbage and nomenclature, whatever, Game Time, they're up front with you. They're there to save you money. It's for last-minute people. Check it out. Saturday morning, Final Four. You may get a steal of a deal, but you're only going to get it with Game Time. It's the best way to support us. Check out the link in the show notes to get your tickets now.
We see there in the chat, Johnny, asking you a question. If Kliff isn't fired Black Monday, what are your first words on Tuesday's pod going to be? It's probably pass me the OGs, because you're going to need some healing. And our friends at OGs, they got something for everyone, whether he wants to sleep away the rest of the day, just sleep his worries away, or just get a little bit of a boost emotionally. OGs probably has something for you. They're gummies. They are top notch. It's Arizona's Cannabis Kitchen. They've got indica, they got sativa. As they said, they got the sleep time gummy, and they got all the flavors you could want. Their whole tropical collection is unbelievable. Raspberry orange, you've got orange creamsicle, aquaberry, that's the flavor of their nighttime gummy. And then you've got black cherries and cream and so much more. You got to check out their full range of products. Find them online at ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com. Follow them on Instagram, along with PHNX_Cardinals and PHNX_Sports. Follow at OG's Brands for all their great deals going on and all the products that they're going to roll out. And as I said, follow them or find them online, ogsbrands.com. You can find them in your local dispensary as well. Got to be 21 years or older. What was Cardinals Update saying there?
I like, well, people are saying Johnny has to shotgun a beer. Tom says needs something stronger than a gummy. Yeah. And I feel good when I'm on OGs. Like for me, it's just like you won't be able to find me. Here's the thing, and I think everybody needs to kind of have a
the streets of Maricopa. Like you're gonna have a Ron Burgundy. You're gonna have just a milk. Milk was a bad choice.
So we're about what? 10 days away from Black Monday. We're in the final countdown here.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to happen. Bo and I are going to cover the game against the 49ers. And then we're going to go home, and then we're going to be on standby alert. And if Kliff Kingsbury is fired that Sunday night ahead of Black Monday, we're going to do a live show. And if and when he's fired on Monday, we're going to do a live show. We're going to be the only place that's going to give you a live podcast immediately following if and when Kliff Kingsbury and or Steve Keim are officially fired. We're not going to wait till Tuesday, I can tell you that. So basically, it's just going to be.
When do we hit if there's no reports that they're not going to fire anybody, but there's just no news coming out of the facility in Tempe? Like, when do we start to hit the panic button? Like, how long?
Well, I think we'll have word from Rap Sheets or Schefter one way or the other on Monday. And I think that I don't think we're going to get a firing Sunday night. I think they're going to give Kliff the respect of, we're just going to let him know Monday morning he's going to come in. We're going to say his goodbyes. And then Michael Bidwell is going to hold a press conference either Monday or Tuesday. That's my official prediction. Maybe we'll get an update on Steve Keim then, that he's officially gone, hopefully getting himself healthy, exiling the organization. We'll know if Kliff Kingsbury is safe or not on Monday. Man, that's going to be a shit show if we have no updates until Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I won't be able to sleep. I can barely sleep now.
Well, OG sleep time gummy, perfect for
That's
that.
right. That's right.
It's this team, this organization does things just so against the grain. It wouldn't. I can envision it right now. Like, all these teams would be making moves, right? It's like Carolina's going to retain Steve Wilkes. They're going to remove the interim tag, and Indy is not going to remove the interim tag with Jeff Saturday. He's done.
They're in on Harbaugh. They're on the phone with Harbaugh.
Yeah. You know, the Raiders are going to fire McDaniels, and then we're just going to be sitting there like, okay, where's the news about the Cardinals? And it's going to be Monday afternoon, and nothing's going to happen. I'm going to give Michael the benefit of the doubt.
I'm going to give Michael the benefit of the doubt. For one last time, Michael, we're going to do a lot of praying to the football gods here in the next 10 days. I think he can get this right. But in the meantime, who's starting a quarterback this Sunday, Bo?
Colt McCoy done with concussion protocol. I got to tell you, though, I'm a little concerned about Colt McCoy. I mean, 36-year-old, he took a little lump on the noggin. Obviously was in protocol all last week. I just think it's a little quick, especially for a couple meaningless games. I mean, the only way it's not meaningless is if the Cardinals lose out and they improve their draft stock, right? If they move up the draft board, for him to go out there, and you love what Colt McCoy had to say, and you pull for a guy like Colt McCoy, but at the same time, it's like this guy, filling in for Kyler Murray this season has just been ripped to shreds, in dating back to training camp. And when he comes out of the gates for the regular season, he's put on IR because he has the calf strain. And then, we saw his left index finger, like the nail is basically rotting off. It's black and blue all the way up the nail. It could fall off at any moment. He's got the elbow issue. He's got, he had to have the MRI on his head. It's just like, this dude's been through it. We saw heavily documented on Hard Knocks, big old happy family. It's like, how much are you going to put yourself through here? You love what he said to JJ Watt is, I'm going to give you the best I've got for the final two games. And you respect that and you appreciate that. But it's just like, can't they just run Trace McSorley out there 2 more times?
I mean, I want that. The fan base wants that. The people in the comments want that. I'm going to say something that's probably pretty unpopular. I think the Cardinals win on Sunday. I think they beat the Atlanta Falcons.
I think they're favored. They would have to in my opinion.
They're not favored right now, which is crazy. I just checked DraftKings. Atlanta's -3 still.
Okay.
That has to maybe be the travel, and you figure home field advantage for Atlanta. Desmond Ritter.
It's not the old days. They're not going horse and buggy or taking the train it's a 5-hour flight, basically first class. I
think they beat the Falcons on Sunday.
They probably. Colt McCoy won't get the edge over a lot of QBs in this league, but Desmond Ritter, he's going to put the Cardinals in a lot better spot than Ritter's going to put the Falcons.
Here's the thing, and somebody just said, Derek in the chat, Falcons are going to have 150 yards rushing. The Cardinals' run defense against Tampa was pretty good. I thought Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette were going to go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
They did not. So if the same run defense shows up that did last weekend, I think the Cardinals are going to put themselves in a position maybe to play with a lead and themselves try to run the football.
The Falcons are a lot better on the offensive line. I mean, Tom Brady was playing, and those running backs were playing behind some third and fourth string offensive linemen. It was just as bad as their counterpart with the Cardinals.
Does a win Sunday change anything, Bo, from leadership standpoint? Do you believe?
No, I don't think anything going forward. Even a win against the 49ers, which would be a miracle. I don't think that happens.
Arizona Animal, that's not very nice. Listen, I'm wrong about a lot of stuff. I'm not rooting for them to lose. It just feels like Colt McCoy versus Desmond Ridder. He's a better player than Desmond Ridder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Colt McCoy's capable. They were beating the Broncos. Say what you want about the Bronco game. They were beating the Broncos until Colt McCoy got hurt. And then they got trampled because Trace McSorley started throwing balls right to defenders. I don't know.
Yeah. If Desmond Ridder has Colt McCoy's career, and it's not like, if you look at it as a whole, it's not impressive, right? I mean, what is he, 11 and almost 30 as a starter?
But they were both like third-round picks, so that's pretty good count.
Yeah. Desmond Ridder, if his career turns out as well as Colt McCoy's did, I would be shocked.
Of course. I mean, like, Desmond Ridder was a really nice college player. Colt McCoy is an icon at Texas, and then he came into the NFL, and he was drafted by the Browns, and he started full seasons for teams. Like, Desmond Ridder is going to get replaced by a draft pick in about 6 months. He looked bad last weekend against Baltimore. Now, what I will say is Atlanta's defense played pretty well. NFL players don't tank. They're fighting for their jobs next season. Of course, Robin, they don't care about draft picks, unfortunately. 100%. Yeah. You don't think this team's going to be up to play for J.J. Watt in his final 2 games? I still think we're going to get a little bit of a lull period because they played on Sunday night. They're traveling East Coast, early kickoff game. God, wouldn't it be so like the Cardinals? They always get their shit rocked on the East Coast. And then in the game, everybody is hoping that they lose. They go and they play a good game. It's like them playing their best primetime game in forever when there's nothing on the line.
Yeah, but they did exactly what they needed to do, right, on prime time. Even though it was looking it didn't look like it was going to happen. It was 16-6 with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then what do bad teams figure out a way to do, Johnny? They figure out a way to lose, and they did. And I just, I'm not going to buy too much into, hey, you're going across the country to do this, but what's like, are you going to be able to get, all the players necessary on board to be highly motivated to go get this job done, against the Falcons team that's young and hungry? To me, it's more of a coin flip, but you would hope, just draft pick wise at this point, with nothing to play for outside of respect to number 99, like, at least play hard. That's all you want from this team right now.
See, if you're Michael Michael Bidwell cares about winning, at least right now, to try to save face a little bit, because he could override this and say, Colt, we're shutting you down. Too many concussions this year. We're going to play Trace. I would have appreciated Michael doing that. He's not going to do that, and kudos to him. And the owners want to win every game. At least a lot of owners do. Michael does not want to end the season on what would be I don't even know how many they've lost in a row at this point. I can't keep track. When did they beat the Rams? It feels like 3 seasons ago. So, I mean, the finale against San Francisco is competing for the top 2 seeds in the NFC. They're going to be hungry for blood that season finale. Yeah. So I do.
Cards have lost 5 straight. Yeah.
So you end the season 7 straight losses. Not great. No, not very good. But a lot of people are calling this season, Bo, the worst season in the history of the Arizona Cardinals. Would you agree with that? Not the football franchise, but like the most embarrassing season that the Cardinal football franchise has ever had.
No.
I don't think so either.
No, I mean, 2018 was really bad. Like, have we forgot? It was so bad. Like, the team just couldn't compete. There were so many games where that team was blown out. I mean, this team lost. They lost close, and it was frustrating. But at least you could turn on the game and you could sit through 60 minutes. Sure, yeah. You probably pounded your coffee table and yelled at your kids a few too many times because of how poor they were playing. But as far as like the 2018 team couldn't keep, they averaged just over 14 points.
The 50-yard line.
They were bad defensively. They were bad offensively. They had nobody like outside of like David Johnson, Patrick Peterson, Larry Fitzgerald. Like, there was really nobody else on that roster. I mean, it was a complete disaster from top to bottom. There was nothing close. They won that game against Green Bay, which was shocking. But who knows if Aaron Rodgers didn't kind of take a dive in that to make sure Mike McCarthy was gone. That was one of the worst seasons ever. And then like there were a couple seasons there where didn't they go like 4-0 and then drop the next couple games under Wisenhunt? End up going 4-12.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think, I mean, say that to Frank Sanders, one of our co-hosts here on PHNX Cardinals. He was on a couple 4-12 teams and 3-13 teams. Like this, if any organization knows futility in bad seasons, this fan base certainly does. And this season's been really bad, atrocious, especially under the current regime. You could say it's their worst, but I can't say it's the worst in the history of the franchise.
John Paul in the chat, great point. Buddha's out. Don't underestimate that. 100%.
Yeah, huge.
And Jalen Thompson's a really good safety, and Isaiah Simmons is probably going to play safety the whole game. But, I mean, Buddha is a lightning rod and the unequivocal leader of the back seven, if not the whole defense, along with Watt. That's a huge loss. If the Cardinals don't create turnovers and they turn the ball over, this is going to sound cliche, they're going to lose. Like Colt McCoy can't overcome turnovers, and if they get any kind of pass rush, that's going to be a problem. But if he's allowed to sit back, he can make accurate throws. McSorley is just so inaccurate that, you know, you're guaranteed for a couple just gross interceptions because he's not an NFL quarterback.
And we'll see what the secondary looks like. You know, you had Marco Wilson go out with another stinger after 2-pick performance, and you know Antonio Hamilton probably should be good to go, but Byron Murphy's IR'd for the rest of the season. So you're starting defensive backs. I mean, we could see Christian Matthew work his way back into some playing time, and it's not pretty. So, like I said, it's probably a coin flip. I'm not saying that the Falcons they've taken some strides this season, but at the same time, they're not world beaters either. But we get to watch the last few games of J.J. Watt playing in the NFL, and that's worthy of tuning in anyway. And also just watch Cardinals football for 2 more games because after draft season, we're going to be aching to watch football again.
Depends on who's the coach. Let's see who the coach is for this franchise. Well, I might be ready to run through a wall come early February. We got no football on with this franchise. Right. Harbaugh is the head coach. I'm ready to get after it. Let's
hope you don't run through a wall over at our friend's place, Octane Raceway in Mavericks. Yeah, take away the keys from this guy. He's not a safe driver if he's running through walls, but you can have a good time out there, good safe time. We had a blast out there a couple months ago. The PHNX crew went out there. We tore it up. Frank Sanders was the fastest guy around turning left, and Johnny was not the fastest guy. You can
middle of the pack. Tell the people the truth.
That's what you want to do.
Race me.
Yeah. Well,
Frank wouldn't race me.
Frank was afraid of producer Jacob. He, I don't know why. What'd you say to him?
I got second. Okay, so this is hang on. So the way that Octane works, right? You go around the track and it's based off lap time.
Yeah.
It's not about where you finish in your heat or whatever. Frank and I were in separate groups. I shared a track with 12 or 13 other racers. Frank shared a track with 4. So Frank had a much clearer track than I ever did. So I never got to race Frank.
I
lost to him by about a tenth of a second.
He lost to him by a tenth of a second. If you're not
he had
first,
a much clearer track.
What are you? You're last. If you're not first, you're last, Johnny.
That's like the strength of schedule garbage that gives the Broncos a higher pick than the Cardinals.
Look, regardless, you guys had a blast. We all had a blast. If racing isn't your thing, bowling, arcade games, state-of-the-art laser tag arena, billiards, dozens of 4K televisions, 1,500 square feet of just fun. That's what's going on. $15 unlimited fun pass on Mondays. What are we? Is it Wednesday? It's a winning Wednesday. Half price arcade games all day long. We're excited to welcome Octane Raceway and Mavericks to the PHNX family. You see our fun crew with all the fun we had out there. You can go have it yourself. Check them out. Tell them PHNX send you. Octane Raceway and Mavericks.
Check out our guy Howard Balzer's work. 2 articles fresh off the printing press at gophnx.com. More injuries taking Kliff Kingsbury by surprise as he talks to the media. And then J.J. Watt's bombshell of an announcement. Again, use that promo code Howard, HOWART. Become a diehard at gophnx.com. Pick up exclusive merch on the cheap or for free. You can get a hat or T-shirt for free when you sign up for a diehard membership. Discounts, get discounts for our upcoming golfing event with our friends at Four Peaks, up to 20% off. Exclusive member Discord. Here's the deal, guys. we got 10 days left in this season, and then the offseason starts, but it's never an offseason with PHNX Cardinals. Bo and I are going to bring you the best, the most premier Arizona Cardinal content and coverage that you will not get anywhere else. Tell us who you want on the show, insiders, whomever. We'll work the phones. We will get them on the show. You want Rap Sheet? You want Josina Anderson? We're going to make it happen to get you the most accurate information over the course of what I believe will be the most unprecedented, unpredictable offseason of the Arizona Cardinals tenure since they moved to the desert. But you're only going to get it here. So do me a favor, like and subscribe. Subscribe at PHNX Cardinals so you never, ever miss a show. And guess what? We've got a double header tonight, because if you've forgotten, that dumpster fire Hard Knocks is still airing. We got how many more weeks of that left?
Last week's episode was great.
No, I just mean behind the scenes. They do good work at HBO.
Yeah.
So let me rephrase that. Dumpster fire in the sense that it's a dumpster fire outside the scenes. Maybe we get more Vance Joseph walking tonight. Don't walk. Run to your TVs tonight to watch us on the post-game show. Cards After Dark, 9 p.m. Bo Brock, myself. It'll be a good time, Bo.
Yeah, it will. And also, maybe we'll play this on tonight's episode, but JJ, during his availability today, had a hilarious story about one of his rookie teammates who had just had their wisdom teeth removed. And like the viral video, was it the kid David, who's coming off anesthesia? Is this real life? Had that type of a moment with JJ Watt, FaceTimed him, just getting out, found out he had retired from the NFL and was talking to JJ Watt under the influence. Maybe we'll play that clip for you. It's hilarious because the player just retweeted our tweet with PHNX Cardinals confirming the story, and we'll play it for you tonight if Hard Knocks is a dud. How much do JJ do you expect tonight? Do you think that they're scrambling to get that into the episode, or are we going to see that next week?
I would say next week. I mean, I think it's going to be big on the game was competitive Sunday night. Tom Brady comes to town. Can we get a Kyler interview at some point? Kyler was around the facility, I think, around Christmas time, took a photo with the rest of the quarterback group. I'm hoping and praying we get some K1 tonight. Who knows? But you do know we're going to be live, 9 p.m. Cards Knocks After Dark, myself and Bo Brock. Bo, it's good to have you back. It's great to be back here on PHNX Cardinals again. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on the old YouTube. Like this video. For Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you tonight.